streets were plunged into an eerie blackness. Wide-scale outages are nothing new. In 1965, a huge blackout in the Northeast left more than 30 million without power for almost 13 hours.
New Yorkers have taken it in stride, have they, as far as you've been able to see?
No, they haven't.
You gotta ask them that.
In 1977, New York City was plunged into darkness again, this time resulting in looting and other crimes.
There have been massive power outages, blackouts.
And in 2003, overgrown trees were partly to blame for a blackout that affected 8 states and part of Canada, some 50 million people. That one lasted up to 4 days in some areas. But our next electric failure could be just a keystroke away.
I'm not sure I know why it hasn't happened yet. It's definitely not for lack of capability on various parts, whether it be us or an enemy. I think it comes down to timing, and I think we need to make the right people mad at the right time.
You would think the one entity that would be ready for something like this is the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes.
Are they ready?
No. I mean, I've talked to every former Secretary of Homeland Security, and they all acknowledge there is no plan.
He says the current secretary, Jay Johnson, didn't offer much guidance either. You described the conversation as prickly at one point.
Well, it got prickly because I kept asking, what's the plan? Why wait until disaster strikes? Why not tell him, do you have a plan? And he just sort of pointed up at a shelf filled with white binders, and he said, look, I'm sure there's something up there somewhere.
We wanted to find out for ourselves, but both the White House and the Department of Energy declined our requests for an on-camera interview. The Department of Homeland Security also refused to speak on camera. Instead, we were given a statement, which reads in part, "To be clear, the Department of Homeland Security has a plan. We, along with the Department of Energy, coordinate national efforts to strengthen the security and resilience of the electric grid. We also work with energy sector partners to promote the security and resilience of the grid through myriad activities both seen and unseen." Next, we reached out to some of the big electric companies. They refused to speak with us as well. Ted Koppel says the government basically has no plan. Is he right?
No, he's not right.
So we turned to Paul Stockton, a former Defense Department official whose duties included cybersecurity.
The government is building plans very, very quickly now to help manage the consequences of an attack on the grid, but also to make sure that government systems are more resilient against attack.
Are the power companies today prepared to respond to a large-scale cyber attack on the grid?
Power companies today are strengthening their ability to respond to an attack and restore power more quickly.
Still, Stockton admits
their readiness is not where it needs to be, given that the adversary continues to strengthen the sophistication of the weapons that will be used against the United States.
Ironically, it's our less sophisticated electric providers who may have an edge here.
This is the South Canal system.
Take the Delta Montrose Electric Association in southwest Colorado, one of 900 rural power cooperatives in the United States. It serves some 28,000 customers and is far less internet dependent. CEO Jason Bronick. To what degree do you rely on the internet?
Most of our internet is for non-critical functions.
If somebody hacked into your system, how vulnerable would you be?
All of our systems are put in place and have an extensive amount of backups, and we have manual overrides that would allow us to continue to operate.
Would you consider changing to a system that relies heavily on the internet?
We would not.
Rural co-ops account for just about 12% of America's power distribution, servicing approximately 42 million people in 47 states. None of these co-ops relies on the internet for the distribution of power.
Well,
but as Koppel sees it, it's too late for utilities elsewhere to follow suit and pull the online plug.
I don't think we're ever going to give up the internet. There are too many advantages to the internet, even if it has the capacity to wreak enormous damage. And all I'm saying is, at least wake up to what its capabilities are.
And since there's no turning back, it's important to think ahead.
So what does the average family actually need to be doing? Do they need to be, as Ted Koppel has done, stocking up on water and freeze-dried food?
I think those are very important measures. Average citizens need to be able to take care of their own families and their own neighborhoods and their own communities, and not assume that Uncle Sam is somehow going to magically bring in the cavalry and rescue them.
In the beginning of the book, before the first page, you said to our grandchildren, you named your 7 grandchildren, and then you said, here's hoping that Opie, meaning you,
That's me.
got it wrong.
Right.
You think you might have gotten it wrong?
Of course. I mean, there's a possibility. Do I believe I got it wrong? No. I spent a year and a half trying to get it right, and unfortunately, I think I did.
We'd get to the point.